see you, bro. You're right. They're gonna placate to. They're just gonna kind of go along with that, right? But if you say, "Hi, my name is Jonathan Smith, and I'm the CEO of a tech company that manufactures headphones for children with one toe," whatever it is, right? Like then people are gonna be like, "Oh, CEO, okay," and you hand them your business card. What's wrong with that? And so I didn't see a ton of criticism for it. I did see a few people that unfortunately sometimes we get trained to be just mad about everything. And I'm not saying that their criticism should be dismissed. I think it can be heard. I think that there is something to the idea that America is a country that unfortunately has always treated African people differently from African Americans. America hates African Americans in general. I really believe that. I believe that there are aspects of black culture that you and I might be able to tolerate that others will simply not even entertain at all. They just see it and they say, "What's wrong with those people?" Right? So I think that the racism's real, the differential's real, and I've seen so many scenarios where, tell me if you've noticed this way, times where they will go and put an African person in a position. They'll say, "See, we got a black person, DEI, y'all." And African American people will be like, "No, no, 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 that's not, nope, nope, stop, nope, nope, that's black, that's a substitute." And then it creates an artificial division, right? But it's real. When I was at Syracuse University on the faculty, and I called them out, my tenure process was ugly, and I said, "Screw you. You're not going to convince me that I'm unqualified to do my job. I was trained by the very best in the world. I'm smarter than most of you right here." And I said, and I said, "Here's your problem." I said, "You have a finance department that in 50, 60 years has never given a promotion to a black man. You don't hire black people. And not only do you have that in the finance department, I can name 40, 30, 30, 40 departments that have the same track record." So I said the problem is not whether or not you have the right to decide if I'm qualified to be here. I don't even want to be here. I'm moving on. I'm going to go do some bigger things anyway. The problem for you is that you won't address your racism. The problem for you is that you want to believe that the reason that you've never hired a black person in the English department or whatever it is because black people are just not qualified, and there's not a single African American on the planet that can do a job that's been done by thousands of white men. So the problem is not me. The problem is actually you. And so I'm going to do you a favor and help you to understand that, right? And so, of course, white folks don't like you talking down to them on their territory. So they're like, "We don't get this Negro out of here." But that's okay. 12, 13 years later, I stand by that very point. And so what happened then that was really fascinating was they came out literally. I could tell I really got under their skin because they came out their PR office literally. I think they told some outlet. I don't know if it was a Journal of Higher Education or whatever it was. They were like, "Yeah, our faculty is 30% black." It was some crazy number. And there was another black professor, another African American woman. She called me. She said, "Did you see that number that they said about the percentage of black people that they have teaching on the campus?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I was asking, where are all these black people at?" And here's what went on. What they did was they took everybody that they hired, and people don't know that in academia you got different levels. You got adjunct professors, assistant professors, tenured professors, full professors. My wife is up here. Shout out to all the hardworking black women. Only about maybe 10% of all PhDs become full professors. Only 1% of the population even gets a PhD. My wife went into our program with five other black students. All four of them got eliminated. She was the only one that survived. And so she's a badass. She's in terms of hierarchy, she's apex predator, like top of the food chain type of stuff, right? So what they did was they took all the black people that they'd hired at every level, added them all up, and they didn't just and it wasn't just African American people. They were like, anybody who isn't a white man, we're gonna lump everybody in this pile. Right, so they literally I think they were including people from India and all kinds of stuff. Right, and I don't even know. I got to go look at the language, but maybe they were saying like black and brown. It was one of those things. Y'all know how the DEI game goes, right? And so we've seen a lot of examples where when we say, "Hey, we want a black person in that job," then they say, "Okay, well, let's go get an African." No, that's not. I'm sorry. Love Africa. Go to Africa twice a year now, but that's not black. That's not African American.